My name is Adam Gonsalves. I'm the owner and engineer at Telegraph Mastering in Portland, Oregon. We are a full-service mastering studio. I met Malachi because I had a very specific project in mind, and there were not a lot of woodworkers that were willing to take on the project that I had in mind, which was for a custom console. And I was recommended to Malachi by several people online just as a person to check out. And right away, he was very communicative and he was excited about the project and he wanted to meet in person, which I always think is a great sign. So I went up to North Portland and we sat down at his studio and hammered out a bunch of details. And I knew from his past work that the quality was definitely going to be there, but the communication and the client relations, I guess if you will, was a great and very pleasant surprise. Sometimes guys who are very skilled or you have this genius complex, right, where you're really good at your job but you can't talk to people. And Malachi's not one of those guys. I was a little bit of a nightmare customer. This console was designed by an industrial designer. And precision is really important here because we're dealing with points of reflection and how they play into room acoustics. So there's not a lot of room for creativity or deviation in the design. It had to be built exactly to spec, which I think was intimidating for a lot of other woodworkers. Oh, can it be a little bit this way or a little bit that way? The answer is no. It really had to be the way that the industrial designer created. And so Malachi didn't have a lot of leeway to work with. The tolerances were extremely small, and the choice of material had to be precise as well. And I know from being somebody who takes on clients with very specific demands that can be challenging. And thankfully he was excited and invigorated by the challenge and not terrified. Malachi's a busy guy, and the great thing about working with Malachi is no matter how busy he is, he has this sort of way of making you feel like you're the only client that he's working with, which I really, really appreciate. And he's really willing to go the extra mile. So he came on site for assembly. So he brought everything, because we couldn't fit the console through my door. So he had to break everything apart, bring it in piece by piece, and then assemble it here. And so he assembled everything here, and then he walked me through how to disassemble should I ever need to move, and gave me the parts that I would need to disassemble. So it's that kind of extra mile thing, not just like, here's the thing I built you, man, later. He's really concerned with you living with your piece and how it's going to interact. In my case, with workflow, I'm sure on the residential end, it's how it's going to live with you in your living space. But for me, it was how's this going to be able to work with your workflow, and how is it going to achieve the goals that you need this piece to achieve? And he does all of that expertly. I mean, craftsmanship, you can't fault him on anything, but he's also doing it in this way where there's a lot of attention given to you and what your priorities are, and I really appreciate that about working with him. For custom woodwork, especially if you have an ambitious design, let's say, there's nobody that I would recommend hire.